Aeneid Book 2, lines 40 to 56. Begin the scene with Laocoon racing down from the citadel when he spies the wooden horse left behind from the supposedly retreating Greeks. Primus, at first, technically is modifying Laocoon, but just go ahead and translate it as his first. At first, there, ante omnes, in front of everybody, magna commentante caterva here is an ablative absolute. If you want to translate it as while a great crowd was gathering, or with a great crowd gathering, either's fine. Laocoon, ardens here technically is a participle, so we have to translate it as a participle. Burning, being eager. Decurrit, runs down, ab summa arche, from the top of the citadel. Et procul, and from far off, we're going to imply some kind of verb of shouts or says. From far off, says, O miseri. Now, miseri here is in the vocative, modifying keyways, also vocative because he's talking directly to the citizens of Troy. Quaetanta insania here, these nominatives are the actual subject. We're going to imply the verb to be. Note the word order here. Chiasmus, chiasmus, a be then be a word order. Woo! O miserable citizens, what so great, or go ahead and translate like a magna here, what great insanity is this? Creditis here is a verb of the head, so therefore we're expecting an indirect statement. Do you believe, verb of the head, that the hostes, the enemy, evectos by itself is a participle, but since we're applying the verb to be anyway, evectos esse, perfect passive infinitive, have been driven away? Or do you think, verb of the head number 2, that any gifts, danaum here is a genitive plural here. 2 dots over the U let you know that what's normally a diphthong AU is broken up into 2 separate vowels, important for scansion purposes. Or do you think that any gifts of the Greeks lack tricks? Kareo takes an ablative object, which is why dolis is in the ablative case. Sic notus Ulysses. Ulysses here is the Latin name, the Roman name for Odysseus. Ulysses, it's usually translated into English as. Those are fine. The is Ulysses, or is Odysseus known to you, Sic, at all? And of course, it's a rhetorical. Of course he is. And Laocoon can see right through this horse that indeed Odysseus is the architect of it. Out, out, either or. Either in this wood, Greeks shut up are hiding, rather are hidden. Let's go ahead and leave it as are hidden. I'll explain why in class. Here, interesting word order here. Hawk is modifying ligno, inclusive is modifying akiwi, and so we have synthesis. Synthesis is interlocking word order. ABA, BAB, interlocking word order. We're going to see the exact same thing in line 45, with the hike modifying the machina, nostros modifying muros. What the fabricata S is doing there, we'll talk about again in class. Either in this wood, the Achaewi, the Greeks, shut up, are hidden, or this machina here, you can just go ahead and render it as machine, or this object, this tool, has been made, has been formed, has been fabricated, in plus the accusative, against our walls. Inspectura and ventura, these two, remember, you are the future. These are future participles, future active participles. You can translate it as about to, but I'd actually recommend translating them almost as though they are expressing purpose. You see this in Livy, but it's actually also mirrored in Greek grammar, the future participles intending to, or about to, or in order to. intending to look into our homes and intending to come to our city, dative of location, de super, from above. The third out. Or some, now error usually means a mistake here, but here probably more along the lines of trick. Lateo lies open. Equo necredite. Now, necredite here, this is kind of a very old fashioned way of expressing a negative command. It's almost like thou shalt not kind of sense to it. But just go ahead and translate it as don't trust the horse. Echo is a dative because crede takes a dative object. Tigri here, of course, the Trojans in the vocative case. Quid id est, whatever it is, timeo Danaos, I fear Greeks. Now this et is extra, it's superfluous, and so therefore we're going to go ahead and translate it as even, because it's not joining any two things. I fear Greeks, especially those carrying, those who bring dona gifts. Very famous line. Seek Phatos here. Now, Phatos has nothing to do with fate. Well, not really anything to do with fate. Phatos is the perfect passive participle, or the perfect participle of the deponent verb for fari phatos. And so therefore, after having spoken thus, having spoken in this way, we have to read all the way to contorsitor our verb here. With strong strength, sounds better in the Latin, means, manner, either's fine. With tremendous strength, a huge spear, in plus the accusative, at the side, and in, again, in latos inque, anaphora for emphasis. At the side and at the beast's, genitive, belly. Curvam compagibus here, curved at the joints. Because again, it's made out of wood. Finally, we get our verb contorsit here. Now, torqueo does mean to twist, but here it's more the sense that he hurled it, because if you see somebody hurling a spear, they have to wind up before they release it. So again, thus having spoken, he hurled with great or strong force the huge spear at the side and at the beast's belly, alum, curved at the joints. That would be able to location. Statit, illa. Now, illa here is feminine and singular, and it's modifying the spear, which is also feminine and singular. It has stood, trembling, because again, tremens here is a participle. And now, utero recuso is an ablative noun, ablative participle in a sentence for no good reason, so ablative absolute. You can translate either after the belly resounded or was struck again. It almost is onomatopoetic here. And or you could translate it as from the belly which was struck. The kawai, the hollows, resounded, insonuere, made a sound. Now, this is a syncopated perfect indicative for insonuerunt. Similarly, dedere here, third person plural, syncopated perfect indicative for dederunt. The hollows resounded after the belly was struck, and the caverns, the hollows again, gave a groan, almost personifying the not really anthropomorphizing, but making the wooden statue of the horse almost lifelike. Et. Si fata deum. Now, deum here is a syncopated genitive plural for deorum. Fata here technically is a neuter plural. And so we should have the verb fuescent to go with it. But since we're doubling it up with mens, which is feminine and singular, we're just going to omit the fuescent. But we're going to share laiwa for both nouns fata and mens. Now, fuescent is a pluperfect subjunctive, and it's used in a construction called a contrary to fact. For example, if I had $1 million, I would buy you a monkey. But I don't have $1 million, so you don't get a monkey. Here, this is a contrary to fact past. So if the fates of the gods, it's a pluperfect, so therefore we're going to translate it with a pluperfect had been favorable. The mens here is not their mind, per se. It could also be the mind of the Trojans. If our mind had not been misguided. Impulerat, the subject of impulerat is leaquon, and it is a pluperfect. Now you're expecting, in a normal and contrary to fact statement, you're expecting both clauses to have a subjunctive because it is literally not reality. It is contrary to fact. But for emphasis, Virgil is making it be in the indicative mood. We're still going to translate it as would have. He would have forced us understood, meaning Trojans, to foedare, to foul, besmirch, pollute. Because remember, it was presented as a sacred offering to the goddess. You don't go around sticking weapons into sacred objects. He would have forced us to pollute the Greek hiding places with iron, aka weapon, because it's metonymy. When I say that's all to see, I employ metonymy. We continue with our contrary to fact statements, but now with this imperfect subjunctives, we're switching into present tense. Fates hadn't been propitious if our mind hadn't been misguided. By the way, that not misguided is the example of litotes, double negative. Staret here and maneres here, also the imperfect subjunctives. Troy now would stand. That it did not happen because the fates of the gods and our minds were not propitious. Maneres, my verb ends in an S, which means that my subject is you. And so therefore, the arx alta, the high altar of Priam, here Aeneas is directly addressing it, since he is talking to something that is not there and therefore cannot speak back. We have, technically speaking, a apostrophe. You, high citadel of Priam, would remain. But sadly for them, all the Trojans there concerned, it is a contrary to fact. Troy does not stand any longer, and the high citadel of Priam no longer remain.